It is my honor and pleasure to introduce you to Michele Landers, our numerologist, and she is bringing us the new month forecast for December. Michele, I am so pleased to see you, and I'm so pleased to see December.
Yes, I am too. And it is a very, very interesting month. And thank you, Ruth. I'm always so happy to be on EWN. It's always my pleasure. So thank you so much.
Of course. What do we get to look forward to?
Okay, so this is a really interesting time because in numerology, if you know, and that's what this is about, right? This is about the numbers and what we can expect. We're in this kind of vortex right now in December because we have the energy of 2021, which is a 5, but the energy of 2022, I can't even believe I'm saying those numbers, 222, which is going to be very exciting to talk about for the new year, which we will. That energy is coming in. So there's all of this energy at work, a lot of different numbers at work. So you can expect a heightened energy for ourselves. That's one of the things. And what I'm also going to talk about is I listened to some other astrologers, and I wanted to share some of that information, and I will certainly give them credit, but I think it's like a dynamic period, and I thought it'd be really important to share that as well so people can get ready. So as I said, this is really, really, really a dynamic time. Okay, what happened to my notes here? Yes, there was so much. Okay, so we know that it's a really interesting month of transition again, and then being in this vortex of what is and what will be. So standing alone, the number for December, it's a 12 month, okay? And 1 and 2 is 3. And the characteristics of 3, which happens to be my favorite number because it's my life path number. But the main characteristic of the number 3 is joy. And so you would think that like in December, it can be a very, very joyful time. And but it's also very busy, and it's also a lot of scattered energy. But I like to focus on the feeling of joy. And I would like people to also embrace that 3 of December. But the 3 also is interacting with the energy of the year. And we know that 2021 equals the number 5. So if you add 3 of December to 5 of the personal year for the world, what do you arrive at? You arrive at the number 8. Now, what are the characteristics of the number 8? I think for most people who know just a little bit about numerology, they go, oh, okay, 8 is about money. Now, 8 is traditionally associated with money, but it's so much more. It's power. It is karma. The numbers of karma are 4 and 8. And 8, just by the mere idea that 8 is the 4 doubled. So that is a very, very, it can be a very intense karmic number. And what is karma? You know, karma is not something bad at all. Karma is all just about whatever you put in. It's a harvest. It's a harvest of whatever you've put in. So what have we put in this world is going to come back to us. Now, there's a lot of good things and there's a lot of challenging things, but it's a number of strength, but it's also the number of balance. So this is a month where we will likely see the balancing of the scales. Now, the balancing of the scales can be a challenge, but it can also be a blessing. So it can be a very, very successful month as far as organizing things on a large scale. It's about being determined. When it's operating in a positive way, the number 8, yeah, it does bring about an increase in money, and it talks about finances. Now, we still have the energy of the 5 going on, and the 5 is freedom, and the 5 can be, up and down. But what we're experiencing right now in the month of December is, again, the balancing of the scales. And there's going to be a big focus somehow about money and power. And that's powers that be in the world, in the United States. So I expect some changes to take place this month. And that could be definitely in our government. There might be some, I know that there were some bills that were on the floor needing to be passed. And, we always have this kind of struggle about, what the House wants to, get done, and, how the Senate is going to react to that. But I don't want to get into too much political stuff. But I do think that politically there's a little bit of a shakeup going on for sure. But I think that things are going to happen in a positive way. And one of the reasons I think that, Ruth, is because in the 6th year that's coming up, which is going to be an 8 for the United States, but a 6-year universally, I do think that there are some really positive things that are happening and that are going to happen and bring us into this new vision. And we have this going on for like another year and a half, where there's going to be a lot of changes taking place, but in a really, really good way. So the number 5 is a number that's driven by freedom and change, but it's also ruled by the planet Mercury. And Mercury is considered the messenger of the gods. So Mercury rules over wealth and good fortune and commerce and fertility, but it's also thievery. So how does that come into play? So there are things about communication that will be coming up. And this has been kind of like a theme, that there is not always honest and truthful communication going on. But that stuff, anything that is not truthful should really come to life. Come to light and be exposed. And I think that's a wonderful thing, right? So we want the truth to come out, to be exposed. So the number 5 that we've been under is all about changes and ups and downs. And so in this month, this very powerful 8 month in December, we have to ask ourselves, what changes might we be experiencing? So I do think in the financial sector, there's still going to be, some ups and downs, but overall, I think it's positive finances. And the number 5 can be kind of like this. It's like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And that's the element of surprise with the number 5. Like, wow. So we will definitely be experiencing that. So it's money coming in, it's money going out, but it's a far more active energy this month than it was last month. So when we're operating in a positive vein with the number 8, it means having balance. And it's a wonderful energy for people to work together to achieve a more balanced energy, a more balanced world, a more balanced budget. Of course, I don't know how we're going to do that, but anything is possible and miracles happen. It's positive advances having to do with resources and land. And I'm not sure how that's going to show up, but I do feel that there's a balancing of the scales going on. And I think people are going to be just much more conscientious about finding balance in their lives. I think there's going to be an energy for people of saying, oh gosh, I just want to have a more balanced life. I don't like all of this up and down energy. And that is an unfolding that is happening right now, that we will come into more of a balanced energy, which I'm so looking forward to that. And so 8 is also about judgment. So we might hear of more aggressive actions on the part of individuals or groups. So it's a very, very, very active month, and a lot of vying for position and attention and wanting to get things done. But I have to say that overall, I think it's really, really good. Now, for the United States has been in a 7 personal year, and we've talked about that. We've talked about the struggles with the number 7, but also the 7 is deeply, deeply spiritual. And it has been asking not only the world, but that energy is asking, especially in the United States, to adopt a more spiritual attitude and perception of their life, and in the United States, in order to achieve balance. And with the number 7 of the United States, the personal year, the number, add that to the December, which is 12, which is 3. So 7 and 3 is 10. And 1 plus 0, of course, is 1. So the energy for the United States is a 1, and that is standing in our power in a really good way. So standing strong, making positive changes, having new inventive ideas. It's a very analytical energy as well. It's really good for ideas coming to the forefront, research and development, technology, new beginnings somehow in the United States. So I think it's going to be a really busy month for Congress and funding. But I think that even though we've been going through kind of a struggle, I think a lot of things are going to be brought to a positive conclusion this month. I just really feel good about it. And I hope all of that turns out, that unfolds in the way that I'm seeing it through the numbers. I'm seeing it through more of the positive lens than the challenging lens, because I do think, Ruth, that a lot of this stuff, that the challenges that we've been going through, I don't think they're going to go away completely. Of course not. That is not life. But I think we're going into something that is more elevated. So I listen sometimes, besides Maya White, of course, I also listen to Pam Gregory, who is an astrologer, and she talks about this intense eclipse that is coming about. And that, I believe, is, let me see, December 4th. There's a total solar eclipse. And she talks about it being conjunct something called the Great Attractor. And this is like this massive cosmic force that's taking place. And it is a sense of cleansing and clearing out. And it's in Sagittarius, and that's about truth and freedom and justice. So I really feel good about that. And it's, in the world, all eyes are usually on the US, because we kind of set the pace for what's happening in the world. We do still have that kind of power. And there is a rebirth astrologically taking place, and that is redefining the United States politically, economically, constitutionally, and she even speaks to even geographically, which I'm not sure what that's going to look like geographically. And if when I get more information about that, I'd be happy to share it. But it's all very powerful. And I also found out that this eclipse that will be taking place, it's not just that day, which, I wasn't aware of this, that an eclipse apparently lasts for like 4 months or 6 months, the energy of that, which I did not know. And again, I'm not an astrologer. I know a little bit about it, but according to Pam, this is something that is going to be spread out over a period of time. So it's all about, again, freedom and truth and this newness. And there's something to do with Uranus, which is very electromagnetic, and Uranus is about surprises and this surge of energy taking place. So another thing that she talked about, and I'm going to mention it and we're going to see how this is going to unfold, but she said that the United States is experiencing a Pluto return. Now, the last time we had a Pluto return was when we experienced 9/11. She doesn't think that it is going to be that type of, incredible, experience that we had, that terrible, negative, horrible experience. But we will be experiencing this Pluto return. So it's going to be intense. But what a lot of astrologers are saying, and numerologically, what we're saying is what this means is a redefinition of who we are and how we're going to move forward with this, as Eckhart Tolle talks about, this new earth. So things are really moving forward very quickly, especially with the planets, very rapidly. And what I would encourage people to do is to embrace change. This is also really important, Ruth. It is so much about redefining how we see our world, to see it through a new lens. And I know that we've talked about this before, but it really bears repeating, is to let go of our judgments and placing blame outside of ourselves and having these feelings of, basically the feeling is, if you would only do what I think you should do, we won't have any problems. And we have to step away from that and take really full responsibility for how we're showing up in the world. And it doesn't mean, sometimes people say, well, what does that mean? You be a Pollyanna and you don't take action? No, you take action on the things that you believe are something that will contribute to the positive forward movement, if you're so inclined. But it means to drop the judgment, to have a peaceful resolution to things, or peaceful action, not to be aggressive. Now, 8 sometimes can be very aggressive, but we don't want that. We don't want people to be aggressive. We want them to be assertive. You certainly can speak your mind in a positive way, in a positive vein, and not push your agenda. It's not about pushing your agenda. It's, if you have ideas or beliefs on how the world can be a better place, then certainly talk about that and take action, but again, in a positive, non-aggressive way. So we also are we're right now into this Sagittarius season, and that is kind of celebratory, you know? And I just think that there is going to be a more positive attitude and a more positive feeling. And if you don't feel like that, I encourage you to embrace the number 3 of December and be filled with more joy and positive expectation, and to try really, really, really work on dropping this whole fear energy that we've been in, and this whole like this heaviness that we've been experiencing. And please lighten up. What have you got to lose by adopting a more positive, happy, joyful attitude? I know that there are still a lot of challenges going on, and that people who have experienced death in their families or sickness. And when it comes to somebody's passing, if you believe in a higher power and you believe in destiny, I just would encourage people. I know it's really challenging when it's so personal, but to look at it through a different lens and believe that we we don't really die. We just go to a different place. It's just like a baby being born. A baby does not want to leave that safe, secure, warm womb, right? But it is kind of forced out of that tunnel, that dark tunnel, into the light. And it's forced out that way, but it brings that baby in and that human being into a new light and a new experience. And I think it's the same way when we pass from this world into the next. We're kind of fearful about it, even though things may not be great. We still know it. We're familiar with it. And it's like, well, I don't know if I really want to go wherever that is, but there's a promise of a new experience and a more positive experience. So for the people who have passed, just think of it as they are in a new and wonderful place, and they're not really gone. They're really right here. Their energy is still around. We just can't see it. So I don't know how I digressed into all that, but sorry about that. Oh gosh, this is really reflective of my life right now, of everything that I'm going through, which is good. I don't want anybody to think it's bad at all. There's just a lot going on. And maybe there's a lot going on in my life because there's a lot going on, period, in the universe and all the energy. So I think to kind of to wrap it up, I think that it's a powerful cycle that we're in right now. And it's the time to think about moving forward in a really positive vein and dropping the fear, the anxiety, the overwhelming sadness that some people have been experiencing, and begin to step into the powerful new cycle that we're going to be going into. And as best you can, enjoy this very blessed holiday season. And in whatever way you can, please bring some joy and happiness into your life, whatever that looks like for you. Embrace that, embrace the joy, think positively, think about the things that you want to give birth to, because we are going into this period of birthing new things in the world. And, the change starts with us, right? So, again, a lot of activity going on with all the planets. And so they're stirring things up, but they're pushing us in a really positive direction. And we'll talk more about what's going on in, I guess, in January, right? We'll talk about the brand new year. And also, we'll have a little surprise for people. We can talk a little bit about what they might be experiencing personally, numerologically. So I feel like I've been rambling on, and I apologize for that. And I think that's about it, unless you have some questions.
No, that was great. Thank you, Michelle. You know, October and November were, in your words, and yes, you nailed it, full of fear and heaviness. And it was such an interesting time to be an observer and, to witness what was happening. And I saw so many folks that are normally full of light and love just getting stuck in the heaviness. And it feels like December is different. It feels like there is a momentum that's picking up. And
Wow.
like we can let go of that heaviness. And not that anybody wanted to be in it, but I think a
Correct.
number of folks were, really stuck. So, yes, I'm excited about December. And doesn't it feel like there's a different momentum that's come in with it?
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I kind of, I decided I wanted to check out some of the astrological aspects as well, because I'm always interested to see if it's, if it mirrors what I'm seeing numerologically. And I have to say, for the most part, it really does. And yeah, I just feel it's a different, lighter energy. But the issue is, if you're holding on to what was negatively, it really, it colors and brings down what could be a really joyful time for you. If you're holding on to that, it colors it, it shadows it. So yes, I do think that this is um, a really good time for us in the world, and that we have to embrace joy and new beginnings and births and be really into that energy. And that will affect everyone. It affects what I'm doing, and what I'm feeling affects you and affects everyone, and what you're doing and what you're feeling affects you and affects everyone. So we want to share in that joy, that positive feeling.
Well, and as you were mentioning joy, two other words came to me, and one was love, and the other was empathy.
Mm,
The those three words together just feel so spiritually perfect right now.
yes,
Joy, love, and
yes,
empathy.
yes, I like that, because we certainly do. We are a brother's keeper, and we need to have joy and compassion. And I whenever I speak to someone, especially if it's in a coaching vein, and they're upset about what somebody else, did to them, offended them, or uh, did something that really they felt wounded by it. I always say that happy people don't do mean things. They just don't. And I think that the prescription for when you encounter that kind of energy is to always send that person love, because truly they need that. Because unhappy people tend to project that unhappiness onto others. So if it's not you, it'll be somebody else if they project it on. So I ask people, I invite them not to take it personally. And that doesn't mean to be a doormat. I mean, I hope, that's
Right.
clear. It doesn't mean being a doormat, but it does mean to not hold on to that negative energy, because it just poisons you. And that person certainly needs empathy and compassion. Doesn't mean you have to hang out with them if you don't want to. I don't mean that. It just means send them positive energy, send them love, send them healing. Why wouldn't you want to do it? Why would you want to hold on to ugly, hurtful, bad feelings? It's not good for us. And so I love the word empathy. And I think that really speaks to this time of joy. So it's joy, empathy, and what
Love.
else did you say? And love, of
Yeah.
course. How can I forget love? It's the most important part of this, right?
Yeah, beautiful. Well, we are looking forward to an evening together learning about what's coming in 2022. So that'll be coming up for you at the very end of the year. And Michelle's going to do something special there with a little bit of special teaching going on about numerology and life paths. So we're looking forward to that. Michelle, thank you so much for this time today, bringing in December. And our friends, thank you for joining us today. And we look forward to walking through December with each one of you. So take good care, everyone, and God bless.
Thank you.